impacted her career for the worse. Can not having children hinder your success? And becoming a Canadian with just one click. What's behind the government's proposal to streamline citizenship ceremonies? Then, they empower women to pick up a drill and do it themselves. The Sorry Girls are here to prove the sky's the limit with what you can create. Plus, it's a must-read for parents and kids. The author behind a new book that raises awareness about Indigenous culture and traditions. It all starts now on The Social.
Welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. As we get cozy, I want to welcome comedian James Mullinger to the show. You're coming to us from the east side.
I am indeed, all the way from sunny New Brunswick.
Love it, love it, love it. I know you guys have been having a hard time there with fires. How's everything going?
We have. We're back to kind of business as normal, the rain. So for the first time ever, we are thankful for rain on the East Coast.
And we're thankful you're here as well, so thanks for
that means a lot. Thank you.
Listen, everybody, it is a hard truth that becoming a parent can set a woman back in her career, but can not having kids also hurt you professionally? No! Oh, okay. Well, listen, American Pie and Sharknado star Tara Reid said in a recent interview that in Hollywood, if you're not having kids or you're not married, you are judged as that party girl that you maybe once were years ago. Okay, can not having kids actually hurt a woman? I mean, our audience seems pretty clear on this. Where do you stand on this, James?
Well, I love how you identified her as Sharknado's Tara Reid. Yes. Which is a not prestige film. And so I guess Tara Reid, the star of Sharknado, is saying that she wouldn't have had to do quality films like Sharknado had she become a parent. And I just, working in entertainment for this long, I don't know if I buy that, she could have been in Martin Scorsese's next film had she not, had she had kids.
Right, if she was nailing Lady Macbeth on Broadway, right, no one would be saying that's no good because you don't have kids. But I guess the one thing that she is right about is that, society is unfortunately less forgiving of women when they change their ways. And I think that's a fact that, a male actor can behave, disgracefully and party all they want, but as soon as they put the whiskey bottle down and stop falling out of nightclubs, they can be taken seriously as an actor. And I think, unfortunately, Hollywood and indeed society is less forgiving. But I think Tara doesn't do herself any favours because of the contradictory nature of what she said. She specifically said that she didn't do anything wrong because she didn't do sex tapes, which I find highly offensive because there is nothing wrong with doing sex tapes. As I'm constantly telling my wife. It just reeked a bit of slut-shaming. Her kind of arguing that the problem was people doing sex tapes. There's nothing wrong with that. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say you're being, people are judging you while also judging other people.
Whoa, I was just thinking it would be funny if we asked the control room, okay, roll the sex tape of James and his wife.
I think what she's trying to point out, though, is amongst her cohort, because she kind of came up with, it was Kim Kardashian, it was Paris Hilton, and I think Lindsay Lohan. A number, maybe not Lindsay, but a few of them have kind of come forward. Or Christina Aguilera. They changed their image after they had kids or in tandem. And suddenly it seems like, maybe from her perspective, that it's like, okay, Christina Aguilera got The Voice and Kim Kardashian is now becoming a lawyer.
Yeah.
And, that all of them suddenly were redeemed. And there may be something to that we take suddenly this idea. I remember when I was growing up, at our school, there was this one teacher who was particularly mean. And I remember, I was complaining about it to some adults. And one of the adults said, oh, well, she's not a mom. And it stuck in my brain as this kind of message that I didn't know how I felt about it, because I was like, oh, does that mean that people who don't have kids are mean? Or is it particularly a woman thing? So there is that kind of discourse in our culture, and I wonder if somehow she's picking up a little bit.
Well, they say that about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah.
I do like the image of being a mean woman, a child-free woman.
Good on you.
I do enjoy it. But, to your point, Cynthia, you're right. I do think that it can be strategic to whitewash a reputation through motherhood in particular. When we just saw it, an attempt of it anyway? Liz Holmes. So I don't know if you all know, Elizabeth Holmes was the tech entrepreneur who scammed people out of billions of dollars for her science thing that didn't work and was found guilty. And she was supposed to go to prison. They wanted to send her to prison. That's what happens when you get found guilty. And she is now a mother. And so one of her and her defense's excuses was, well, Liz is a mom now. Liz, she's so much more relatable now that she's a Liz. Yeah. And they were like, don't send her to prison, just, keep her at home. Well, she broke the law and scammed people out of millions of dollars. Should there be grace given for someone who's a mother and a criminal, right? And I do think that's a tactic that has been used.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, next question. Is there a gooder way to correct someone's grammar? A woman wrote to Miss Manners to ask if she should correct the typos in a relative's text messages. She says it's the same spelling mistake over and over again, probably one of theirs. I don't know how many there are. What would you do, James? Would you correct someone?
I mean, I generally live by unsolicited advice. It tends to not be something that should be forthcoming, right? And there's scenarios for it. I mean, my mum is the biggest, stickler for grammar. Like, when you're talking, she'll correct everything. It's I, not me. And, and she's constantly correcting, a different from, different to. But yet, when my mum sends me texts, it's R-U-O-K, see you later. And I don't correct her, obviously, because it's my mum. I mean, I daren't. But I feel like there are scenarios when you should have been, obviously, in a professional environment. If someone asks for your advice, if you're proofreading a book, obviously, if you're writing a sympathy card and it's the person's name spelled wrong, step in.
I think it's generational. No.
But otherwise, just silently judge would be my advice.
Yeah, well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
This is what I do. I have inherited your mother's gene also through my mother, because anybody who knows my mother and all my aunts, all my titas, when they learned English, it was to the letter of the law. And as an immigrant, they didn't have the luxury to misspell, to do any short forms, because they were up against other people who were native English speakers. So my mother drilled it into me. Nice. If I ever, in a text, in anything, misspell something, I will hear about it. And because of that, I now do the very same thing. And I can't help it. I really can't help it. And if anybody ever were to crash into my cousins or my family's group chats, it is the most impeccably written stuff.
Oh my gosh.
There is nary a spelling error, punctual error, grammatical error. It's the thing of beauty, if I can say it that way.
Yeah.
I love reading my family's WhatsApp chat because it's beautiful English. There's nothing else to say.
So there's no LOLs, there's no short form, there's nothing.
No,
Wow.
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful
I've started
thing.
using a lot of that. But do you know there's a certain age group, they're younger than I am, that they'll send a text before they've completed the thought. So what happens is you're sitting there at night and your phone ding, 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 it's like, what's happening? Yeah. And it's just like, oh, do you want to go for dinner tomorrow or the next day? And you're just like, just take a second, complete the thought. Yeah. Send.
But
that doesn't happen.
My kids do that.
Do they?
It's 100 texts. I say bring back the 10 cents a text system. Right? We grew up with, we had to pay per text. We made damn sure the entire message was in that block, right? No, as you say, you get 100 messages and you're like, it's literally just him asking me to bring him a bowl of Cheerios. I thought there was a crisis.
Oh, God.
Oh, like, bring back the pay tax. That's it. Up next, should you be able to take your oath of citizenship with the click of a mouse only? No. Interesting. We're going to debate after this. We'll be back.
Cable internet is like an oatmeal cookie. When you don't have anything else, it's fine. But Bell Pure Fiber internet is like a chocolate chip cookie with super fast gigabit speeds. Which would you rather have?
Bell Pure Fiber internet.
Smart cookie.
When you have your car insurance with a Desjardins agent who goes the extra mile to personalize your coverage, saying thank you doesn't quite cut it.
When you have your home insurance with a Desjardins agent that really listens to what you need, you can sit back and relax and find small ways to show your appreciation.
With advanced safety technology, always be prepared for the uncommon.
Hearing from you, so please get us on our social media channels and weigh in on all of the topics that we're discussing today.
A lot of people have strong feelings about this next subject. New Canadians could soon have the option to skip their citizenship ceremony and take the oath online. It's one way the federal government is looking to cut down on processing times, but after asking the public to weigh in, some called it a disgrace. A travesty, I think that was a word also used. So do you think this would be a disgrace, James?
Well, as a new Canadian, in case anyone hadn't noticed, this is not a New Brunswick accent. As a new... I unfortunately had to do my ceremony online due to that kind of end of the world thing that happened last 3 years. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, since I first visited Canada in the year 2000 and fell in love with this country and fell in love with the welcoming nature of the people and everything about it, it was my dream to become a Canadian. So obviously when I finally got round to applying and had lived here long enough and did the citizenship test, which I'm sure you know what the citizenship test involves. It involves learning the answers to questions that no Canadian could answer.
You know them.
Yeah, I know them. And I was so excited. The ceremony was coming up, and then it was revealed that, of course, because of COVID, it had to be via Zoom. I was heartbroken, and my wife said, "Never mind, we'll throw a big party so that you won't notice, right? You can have the ceremony." And I thought, yes, that'll work. Like a community, friends, neighbours. And then 3 days before my ceremony, we got thrown into another lockdown. So my citizenship ceremony, having dreamed of the pomp and the ceremony and the Mounties marching, and when I did imagine it, right? I imagined the entire cast of Due North would be kind of like walking around, or the Trailer Park Boys would be there. Like, I had all these big ideas. And instead, it ended up being me sat alone at the desk that I've been sat at for 3 years doing Zoom gigs, doing my ceremony, and basically sat there alone singing "Oh Canada" very badly into a computer, which was obviously heartbreaking, but necessary. And I will say that I love the pomp and the ceremony, and it really was mortifying I couldn't do it. However, there is some legitimacy to what the government is saying, in that, like, there are lots of people who are here, who have come here for reasons far less fortunate than my own. People who are here not through choice, who are waiting for family members to come, or family members that have come, that want to start working. And there is a backlog. So I think that our Immigration Minister, Sean Fraser, is really trying his best to make this happen quickly, so that people's families can be together. There is a reason for it, so why can't we do both?
Yeah. Exactly.
off are the option.
Right.
I think it's even, now that I think we learned things from COVID. We learned that a lot of things that we thought could not happen online can happen online.
Absolutely. You can make things special. Like,
You can make
sat
things
at my
special.
desk worrying that this is not the same, but I made it special because I wore these socks.
Adorable.
That made it special.
It's so special. But, you were in a very fortunate situation, as you said.
Exactly.
But there are people who are living in remote parts of the country who can't afford to make the big trip. There are people who have disabilities.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who, I mean, my husband, for example, he has someone who works for him, and he came here from Iraq. And the thing is, he would have to take a full day off work, unpaid, to go to the ceremony. Not that he didn't want to go, but there was a price to be paid for the ceremony. I called my mom and I said, Mom, do you remember your citizenship ceremony? She goes, oh, yes, like it was yesterday. And it was so, I mean, not to say that you missed out on something, but it was pretty awesome for her. And she said it was like you dressed up, there was such a solemnity and a pride. And she said what it also was bonding between people who were also choosing to make Canada their new home and met people that she still knows today. So yes, there is, of course, something so special about being in person, but I think COVID taught us it doesn't have to be in person and it can still get the job done.
And it doesn't have to be special for everyone.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I understand. I think it was special for you, and I would never want to take that away from you or your mother. But I also feel like the attitude of the people who are calling this a disgrace and a travesty misunderstands what Canada's relationship with its immigrant population can and should be. It sets up this hierarchy where the nation receiving immigrants is the one doing these people a favor.
Right.
You should be grateful to us forever. And the fact of the matter right now is that Canada needs immigrants. The Canadian government is actively being, making itself attractive to people from around the world because our workforce is slowing down. We need people to come here. We are in need. So then to tell those people, that if you don't want the special ceremony, you're a disgrace if you just want to click a button because you're not grateful enough and you need to be so thankful.
I don't think the government is saying that, to be clear.
The people who are criticizing these decisions. To those people, I say, it's not a one-size-fits-all citizenship. You can be a citizen who this country needs more than you might need the country. And in that case, why are you asking these people to flag wave when essentially they're coming here to do us a favor? So I just want to make it clear, because sometimes with patriotism and nationalism, we go way overboard to the point where it's not Canadian to force Canadianness on people. And I think that is what I want. And again, I love your story. I just don't think it has to be everybody's story.
Absolutely, and that's the amazing thing. I mean, the reason that I fell in love with this country and why everyone falls in love with Canada is it's amazing that the second biggest country in the world can feel like this small community. And it's an amazing thing. It's because you've created this in the big cities, the small towns, this sense of belonging, and crucially, the way in which you welcome immigrants. So, to your point, in many cases, there's hard-to-fill jobs which are being filled so gratefully by, we're so grateful to people coming here and doing those things, but also there are people coming here not through choice, and this is why this country is such a great country. I come from a place where politicians are constantly using offensive rhetoric, trying to clamp down on immigration, and I love the fact that we're in a country here where we welcome people for all kinds of different reasons, and ultimately the end game, regardless of a ceremony or no ceremony, should be one thing and one thing only, and that is holding up. That's what it's all about, right?
Yes!
Just having this. And look, I'm still so proud. 2 years later, I'm still carrying it around with me everywhere.
So good. Oh, love this. Okay, listen, we're going to take another break here on the show. After, are you particular about food texture? Yes. It's a hard yes here. We're going to talk about that when we come back. We'll be back.
Night descends, and I emerge. I have grown accustomed to the dark, and Oh, that's like a really good one.
When you have your car insurance with a Desjardins agent who goes the extra mile to personalize your coverage. Saying thank you doesn't quite cut it. When you have your car insurance with a Desjardins agent who goes the extra mile to personalize your coverage. Saying thank you doesn't quite cut it.
When my home smells fresh, I feel at ease, which is why I use Pretty Litter. My friend Bryson over here, well, he could use some help. Pretty Litter's crystals absorb odor on contact and last up to a month, while Bryson's clay litter needs to be topped off. Pretty Litter is lightweight, 99% dust-free, and delivers right to my door. But that's not the only reason Bryson should switch. Pretty Litter changes color, making it easy to monitor your cat's health. Ready to make the switch? Go to prettylitter.ca.
Okay, so have you ever noticed how food texture can completely kill your appetite? Yeah, so a piece in the New York Times Style magazine looks at why people are so picky about how food feels in their mouth. Okay, do you have any food textures that you're just like, ick, I'm not ever putting that in my mouth again? Jess?
Yeah, I do, and because at first I was like, no, I love all types of textures in my mouth. That sounded weird. But the other night I was having a sausage. I swear to God, this is a normal story. And I was biting through it, and in one of the bites, it was like a piece of cartilage or tendon or something, and like your teeth just didn't go through it. I couldn't finish the sausage because of that.
Yeah.
Maybe,
really gross.
yeah.
That's really
a little
disgusting.
too close to home.
But that shouldn't really be in there.
Well, yeah.
Right? It's not, that's not supposed to be there.
That was a mistake.
Right, it's not the texture of the food. I mean, to me, it's all about taste. Like, I'll put anything in my mouth. I'll rephrase that. If it tastes good. And it's really not about, yes, I'm glad you agree. It's really not about the texture for me. And I understand some people have phobias and different things, but I mean, my favorite food is sushi, which basically runs the gambit of all textures. So I think if you like sushi, you can cope with anything. But again, in some cases, it's a real phobia for people. Like, it can make them...
I think it's cultural too.
But also, isn't it
how you grow up? Like, you were talking about cartilage.
Yeah.
In Chinese culture, we love the cartilage, so we eat chicken feet. Chicken feet is one of my favorite foods.
Right.
And so one of the points of eating chicken feet is you like suck the cartilage off the chicken bones. It is delicious. I can see your faces.
But does it melt, or is it like that?
It's crunchy, and then the fat that connects the cartilage to the bone melts.
Stop.
And there's also the skin, the chicken.
Can we go for dinner? Because I love the sound of this.
It's so good. And then we eat all kinds of tripe and intestines and tongue. Like, all those textures are so good to me.
Right, but if it tastes good, it tastes good.
Sometimes the issue is the way something is prepared, you know? Like, I thought I didn't like mushrooms. And people, I think, say that, mushrooms, it's slimy or whatever. Not if they're done well. Yeah. Same thing goes with, like, okra. I'm trying to think about, like there's a bunch of things. Shrimp, sometimes people complain about that, the texture, whatever. But if it's done the right way. Octopus
is a big one. I don't like octopus. If it's cooked properly, it tastes like chicken.
Yeah, that's true. And if you ask my kids, they'll say the same thing about carrots, right? They love raw carrots, but as soon as they're cooked, they don't like carrots.
Yeah.
So it's, but then kids are fussy. We shouldn't be judging this based on kids.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like I'm a child.
Or Americans. This is where this article comes from. I feel like the Americans have the most unimaginative, boring palate of any country, and I don't want to take food advice from them.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, hey, listen, James, we want to say a huge congratulations to you, not only for your Canadian citizenship and your passport, but you also have a memoir, and it is called Brit Happens, or Living the Canadian Dream. And it also just won the Best Nonfiction Book Award at the New Brunswick Book Awards.
It did.
This is so lovely.
Thank you.
So listen, the audio version of your book comes out today. And in this whole process, what has been the best part about sharing your story?
I think it was really just sharing my love of this country. I mean, the whole book is essentially a love letter to Canada. It's a story about immigration and about, my grandparents' immigration into the UK, and the way in which this country welcomes people. And really, it's a road book as well. I mean, it's the journey through how, I went from being bullied at school to being too scared to speak to other kids in my class to, becoming a stand-up comedian, and then all of the trials and tribulations. And really, if you like to read about, I don't know, people being booed off stage in front of 1,000 people on the first date with their wife, through to, that happened, through to singing karaoke to Paul McCartney, which also happened. And I guess when I was a child, I was obsessed with reading because I didn't have any friends. I wasn't academic or athletic. I was what I think my parents jokingly recently described as a triple bill of failure. Kind of, had none of it. Sometimes if your kid's not athletic, they might be academic. I was none of them. And I always wanted to write a book, and my aunt said, go and live a crazy life and write a book about it.
Excellent
advice.
I
did.
Great advice. Okay, so Brit Happens is now available on all audiobook platforms. Go seek it out today. James, what a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so
much. So fun. So fun. All right, our next guest, they want to empower women to DIY it. YouTube stars The Sorry Girls are here after the break. We'll be back.